Hey everyone, welcome to episode 60 of the Penciled In Podcast. Try to remember the name of the podcast here. This again is episode 60, and for this one, we are going to talk with Jeremy Deal. Now, Jeremy Deal is a collector. He is also part of Sketchcard magazine, of which we are really just dying to hear all about that and what that's all about. Welcome to the show, Jeremy. Thank you for
Thank you,
being here.
ladies. I appreciate it.
Hi, Jeremy. We're going to start where we usually do at the very beginning. So, can you tell us how you first got interested in sketch cards?
Certainly. So it was through a pack of artist trading cards that I found back in 2000. I want to say late 2007, early 2008. And so that's I saw them all on a shelf, and because at that time I was very artistic. I was drawing, and I thought this was a unique thing. Like I've never seen a baseball card size in that format to draw on. And I was like, how unique that was and um, how challenging that could be. So I kept eyeballing them. The thing is I saw it on the shelf. They were cheap. They were inexpensive at that time. And I just eyeballed them for so long until I just grabbed a pack. And as soon as I grabbed one, I got hooked. And so that kind of, that was my introduction into what sketch cards are now today. It was through just a pack of artist trading cards I saw sitting on the shelf.
What kind of things did you like to draw?
Oh, you know me. I'm that comic book character type, so it's all comics. It's the things of the mainstream. Batman, Spawn. That whole mirage of stuff.
Love a bit of Spawn and Batman, obviously. So did you have any interest in collecting trading cards as well, or did that kind of come later, or are you still just mainly focused on original artwork?
No, so I collected trading cards back in 19. Oh, what is it? When was the first series of the Jim Lee X-Men trading cards?
Was that
Like
being
91,
early 90s?
92?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A while ago.
So that was so I collected trading cards, during that time. So, when X-Men had come out and then Marvel Masterpieces, that whole set back in 94, the things of that nature, collecting all those, but nobody really heard of, sketch cards or anything, until later on. But so I have collected trading cards in the past before, and I have gotten rid of most of all of my collection. Here not too long ago, I have recently acquired another, like a hodgepodge collection. And so I
Bits
don't
of
know what I'm gonna do with it, but yeah. So
Well, it's fine just to collect the things that you really, really like and you want to keep and hang on to.
Do
Um,
you want to keep collecting cards, or are you kind of like done with it and you're moving on to your next project type of thing? Or
I don't. Well, so it's funny. I don't know if so. I had posted a live video of opening up a pack of defective comics trading cards, and from the longest I can remember, that's the first time I opened up a pack of trading cards since 2008. Because the 2008 Marvel Masterpiece #2 set came out, and needless to say, the art was very good, but I could see why some people were disappointed in it, in a time, because of the sketches that were coming out in those boxes. And I just, I was one of those who just kind of just lost interest in that. And I just stayed to collecting comic books and other stuff and sketch cards. I never collected another trading card since after that.
so you mentioned Scoundrel before we started recording. Was that your first forum and introduction into the how would you say, community of cards?
It certainly was. It certainly was. It's funny because I had found Scoundrel before I got my very first sketch card through eBay, which um, it was by George Calloway. It was during for the March of Dimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was a member of Scoundrel. And
Mhm.
so, that's yeah. So I found through the artist trading cards to ACEOs led me into Scoundrel, the Scoundrel forum.
Cool.
And then onto eBay during that time, and seeing, just my mind just exploded as soon as I saw, all of these sketch cards with, great art on them, and it was just unreal. So
It's amazing to see how they've developed from like simple sketches to like there's proper masterpieces out there now. It's
So,
amazing.
so did you become aware of this, well, if you like, quote unquote, story behind why sometimes sketch cards would actually be sketchy and why sometimes they'd be like a little bit more finished and all of that? Did you find out more about that through Scoundrel?
yes, and
Or did you find out about that at all?
um, it's amazing some of the things that you do find out through, through forums and through boards like that, and who it is that you're talking to and what's going on. But um, you could see a level of just where everybody was at, and honestly, you could actually tell kind of like their life story through the sketches that they were doing, because you could see um, their progression from where they were at to where they are now. And not only that, you could almost see in the sense that you could tell the sense of what they were struggling with during that time, depending on I don't know if that's what you're referring to as far as the sketchiness be something that's just sketchy to
No,
finish.
actually, I was referring more to the practical side of it. Perhaps you were not so much aware of the fact that, artists are paid, pennies practically to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember. Ingrid, I heard you were talking that you were paying $1.50,
At that
through
time.
one of the other podcasts. Yeah, you were
At
paying,
that time.
and some were only getting, a couple dollars, $3, and it's good to see that the pricing or the increase of, the work being appreciated by the top tier companies now to pay a little bit more and pay a little extra. Do I believe that it's enough? No. I felt bad. I honestly, at one time, in the sense that when I saw somebody's artwork online and it sold for like $200 or $300, I would, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I could buy that and then, and then give it back to the artist, because obviously, but that's their work, that's their livelihood, and they could probably sell it and get the higher price that they want for it. Or in the sense, there's just, I don't know. Art is very subjective, and depending on what is happening now these days with it, it's just, it just it really blows my mind. It sometimes make me, I don't want to say not disgusted, but just, why would you do that?
Well,
It's a very competitive industry at the moment. I mean, if we don't do our best on them, like somebody else will come along and take your place. Like an eager newcomer who wants to put everything into it. But it seems to be something that working for these companies that you'll do for like a few years until you get your speed and your skills up, and and then people tend to move on and do their own thing. So perhaps the newcomers do need to come up and take over.
that's a really good point, Lindsay. Actually, looking at it from that point of view, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but yeah, kind of like
I always, if I'm speaking to somebody who wants to get going with their art now, I will suggest sketch cards. I'll say, it doesn't pay well, but it helps you get to where you want to be, because you have to do so much work so quickly. You have no choice.
that's a really excellent point. Any sketch card artist out there, I think that's excellent point, Lindsay. Actually, it's like boot camp, it's like school, but you get paid a little bit for it instead of paying a lot for it. Anyway, so yeah, please continue, Jeremy. We're also kind of hoping to wind our way to your current project.
Right. Oh, with Sketchcard magazine. Well,
Yes.
So the inception of that actually started back in 2008, through the Scoundrel Forum by George Calloway. George Calloway sent me a message, which I don't know if that was in my old email address or my current email address or through the forum itself. but he had introduced me and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing a sketch card magazine?" He kind of basically laid out everything and then just handed it, put it in my plate, basically, and says, "What do you think you should do with this?" And I said, "I have no idea." And I said, "But I'll try." So um, from 2009 to throughout the years, it's always been there. Um, you can actually go back to the Scoundrel Forum and actually see the post where Frankie B. Washington had made the same thing at one time, not knowing that there was one already in progress or about to be, not produced, but just in the works. So I reached out to him personally, and he said, "Hey, there is something going on," and that it's just, so that it was just the snowball effect, meaning that the inception of it was there, and the idea of it has been there, and it's always been there. And so throughout the years, I've struggled trying to get this going, just because of personal life issues, moving different places, you know. And one of the biggest things I always had in myself was a perfectionist. So
Uh,
I was afraid to fail.
that can
I
stop
don't
you
think
from doing a lot of things.
so. Um, I always felt like I had to be perfect even before it began.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, the
that's
reason I didn't release any card sets for so long was because I was like, if my work's going into print, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be, you know. And then I just at some point I got over it, and you just got to get over it and go for it.
well, certainly. It does become a hindrance, and that was one of the biggest things that had been sitting in the back of my mind. So, um, even when I was out of the country, in between 2019 to 2020, um, you know, um, my family and I, we had gotten stuck in another country during the pandemic. But I had brought my materials with me for this sketch card magazine, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I didn't do anything, and it just sat there, sat there, sat there. And up until this point now, it was not until last year I was out here locally. I was at a Comic Con, or they called it Fountain City Con in Gardner, Kansas, and it was a small con. It's not a big one. I think it's the second or third year. But I was kind of walking around and just seeing everybody, and I ended up seeing a sketch art artist that I knew of because I saw his work, and his name is Brad Voss. And I talked to him for I think 4 hours, just nonstop about sketch cards, about things, and it was great just to hear him and us talking, and I ended up meeting another artist that I knew back when I was living in Nebraska, Phil Hester. And and the funny thing about the sketch card I know with Phil was there was a time when I was into sketch cards and I had these sketch cards. I handed sketch cards to these artists at a local comic book shop that were doing drawings. I said, "Could you please draw on these?" And they're like, "What is it? Like, what do you want me to do with it?" I'm like, "Draw on these sketch cards, please." And they're like, "What's a sketch card?" So I had to go through the details to tell them in that process. But going back to this Fountain City Con, and seeing Phil getting some sketches and stuff like that, and talking sketch cards with some people, I heard another artist, and so this artist, this comic book artist, I believe his name is Zach Howard. Um, he was sitting there and he was telling another aspiring artist and said, "Look," he goes, "if you get invited to a convention, and if it costs you your meal for the day, do it. Just go and do it. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to take place." He isn't talking to me. He's talking to some random person. I'm just overhearing the conversation. But that conversation right there, to the honest truth, sparked me to where I'm at now with Sketchcard Magazine.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, this is what I needed. This is what I needed to hear. This is this little quib of a statement to another aspiring artist. Like, if you miss out on the meal for the day, in order to do this, do it. Don't. It's going to work out. And I'm like, where's this been for so many years right now? This is what I needed in my corner. Like,
Little light bulb goes on, doesn't it?
it did. It did. It went ding, and all of a sudden things just started rolling and started going and started reaching out to artists and getting things put together. So, like the shell of the Sketchcard magazine and everything was there, and the pages and stuff were already laid out. So it was kind of like that kick in the rear, a little bit to just get that little push. And then that light bulb did come on for me too. It's like, okay, I'm not afraid to fail.
Yeah.
I can do this. I'm not afraid to fail.
That's awesome. So have you published an issue yet, or is this to come?
No, this is to come. I have not. This has been a work in progress. Boy, oh boy.
Okay. So when are you planning to release your first issue?
There's a big convention coming up that's got some well-named artists in the Kansas City area in March. So I hope to have the preview issue out by the end of February, beginning of March.
Can I ask what the focus is for the magazine? Is it collector focused? Is there some parts of it that are artist focused?
So it's going to be it's all around sketch cards, hence the name Sketchcard magazine. So it's going to be artist focused and collector focused. It will be card company focused as well, and have a few little things here and there. So I'm piecing it together. And so I don't know if you have seen my post on Instagram, but I have reached out to people in general, whether it be artists, collectors, or anything. If they have an article that they know that they have published but hadn't been seen very well, and they wanted to publish in the magazine and they get the credit. I mean, everybody gets the credit for doing what they need to do and helping. So it's nothing that I take from somebody and then make it my own. It's more of a collective group, like a community, trying to put something together that people would actually enjoy.
So you're trying to focus on the community itself, and you're hoping that the community will help you in putting the articles together. Do you have like a theme, like a flavor kind of thing? Are you like going to be like, I don't know, upcoming sets, or is it just stories from people who are in the industry?
Well, it would be maybe a little bit of a mixture. The one thing about card sets, though, is that I noticed it's hard to keep up. By the time you release something, you get an issue out, you put your blog post, you got 3 card companies already coming out with stuff, and you're like, oh dear Lord, I can't do this. There's too much, and then you're starting to see, you'll start to see posts of card sets that are yet to come. It's like, how? Like, it's so evolving. I know you're laughing about this because you probably didn't understand the sentiment of what I feel. Like, I can't keep up.
Totally.
I can't keep up. If you're an actual legit card company and you're able to do that, I mean, you may have the resources to do that. But for somebody like me, oh no, I don't have the time to scour the internet and say, oh yeah, this card company's coming out. This card company's coming out. This da 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 da.
One thing I always thought that would be awesome in a magazine, like you say, if it's a bit more artist focused. What I've noticed is when I'm chatting to different artists, they'll quite often not have heard of a certain card publisher, to apply to. Because I just presume everybody knows everybody, but they really don't. So it would be awesome to have a list of all the different publishers, going from like your really big ones to your small independent ones, and the different kinds of art that they require for the sets that they release would be really helpful to artists. Just having that one resource they can look at and think, my art fits this company.
Of course, that would be really. It's changing all the time, so it cannot really be a static list at the same time because it changes all the time. Companies come and go and change hands, as we know, and then
disappear completely. Yeah. That's always fun.
Well, there was a time, in the inception of the magazine that somebody had mentioned, like, how about you do like a who's hot, who's not list, because you see some of that stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I want to step on some toes.
I think that's been done already anyway, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. It certainly has. And then another one was going back to checklists or a publisher list was a pricing guide. I'm like, how do you put a pricing guide in something like this? You can't, because it's very subjective. It changes. Something that I could see that would be worth a value of $40, $50, $60. Somebody could say, no, that's only worth $5. Why are you paying that? Or something that I see that's worth $10, $20, and somebody's selling it for $1,500. So you can't really just, narrow it down because it fluctuates so much. And the price that you pay for something on a sketch card is going to either increase in value or depreciate in value, depending on, who's collecting and who's not. So, that was a thing that was going to come about. But going back to the community and with some artists. So I do have some artists who, who one artist wanted to write an article about the life of an artist. I said, that's great because nobody knows. Nobody knows what the life of an artist goes through. Do it. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Another artist who worked on Garbage Pail Kids had contacted the card company for Garbage Pail Kids and says, that artist is going to interview that card company. So it's things like that to kind of put something in that perspective.
Cool.
So it is artist based. It is collector based. I find that more artists are more willing to help than those who collect.
Really? I'm surprised. Really?
I have reached out to collectors who have big collections, and some are on the fence. Like, no. One collector that I know of, he did not want to be put, or he or she, they did not want to be put into the preview magazine, but be highlighted in the upcoming issues. And so I thought that was very challenging, very unique, and I respected that. But there are some collectors that just turned me down and said, no, I don't want to show that.
Well, you never know with time. Maybe that will change too.
Will there be?
I hope so.
Earlier on, you were showing us, when you first discovered ACOs or ATCs, artist trading cards, and you had a pack, and it had different mediums to draw on, different cards. Yeah. So would there be any kind of resource in the magazine to find out, say, where you could get your own personal sketch cards from, or what the different surfaces are like, that kind of thing?
Certainly. So as I'm about transparency. I don't like to, kind of keep things hush hush, but if there are things that are close to the chest that I feel that competition's coming in, that might take it. I might, okay. But when it comes to people asking, especially to me about the trading cards, or not trading cards, sketch cards that I did, some of them thought I produced them. I didn't know. I only did the art, and I sent them off to somebody to get them produced. And they're like, well, who was it? And I was like, it's Karen Cowan at Iconics.
Cowan.
Karen and Paul. I mean, like, there you go. And so people know. People very well know, who Karen is. And I remember Karen coming back into the scene down in the Scandal days. So I remember her name very well. Not realizing that's who she was, that's what she was doing. And I listened to her. I remember, I listened to her on the podcast, a while back, and they have been a blessing. I've reached out to them, quite a bit, I'm trying to get some things done. And those, so not only do they do the sketch cards, but I think I'm going to go with them in publishing the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm very well, okay with that. And they're very transparent too. And one of the things about the magazine, just because there might be a slight hold, is because the preview issue is supposed to have a sketch cover. It's supposed to be I want a sketch cover on it, and on the front, it's going to be looking like an oversized sketch card. So that's why I want it to be a sketch card.
That's an excellent idea. I love that.
Right. Well, due to cost of materials and the type of sketch cover it is, it was best felt like, well, this wouldn't work, so let's hold off and wait until this comes about, and if it does. So, that's another reason too, is I know that production issues do take place, and things are out of your control.
Especially after COVID and everything, that has really cut into a lot of delivery, supply issues, all that fun stuff.
Right.
Do you have a goal for your magazine, like in the long term? How many issues per year do you think you will put out?
I thought about doing every other month, so or every 3 months. So between 4 to 6 is the goal,
That would be
is the
good.
range. I hope.
How many-
Not many people know this, but this is a one-man team at this moment, and I do work a full-time job, so trying to squeeze everything in.
Oh, sympathies. My sympathies to you. How
It's
many?
hard
So
to get your card set sorted when it's all you do all day. Never mind a magazine and a full-time job.
I would hope. I would hope that's to answer your question, Ingrid, about the long-term, longevity of this magazine is I want it to be published, but also published in the sense that it's into comic book stores or retail stores of that nature that cater to
Ooh,
that sort of thing. And, and it being a long-term, as it sees fit, you know, uh, job, a magazine, something that I enjoy doing.
Your own sketch card blanks would be awesome, wouldn't it? Including one of them on the magazine. Because they'd be rare as well, because you'd have to buy the magazine to get one. And if
yep.
collectors were really into them, then everybody would be buying the magazines to get the sketch card so they could make the money on the as well as read the magazine.
That sounds like like a fantastic plan.
It is. And so I wanted to cater to not only the adult but also the child. Maybe the young teenager or young person who's growing up, and they see stuff like this. Because they do collect. Some artists do draw. Very whimsical or very toned down to drawings of Disney characters or animals. You know, um, I saw one artist who was drawing, kind of like the more graphic, adult oriented stuff, but yet his sketch cards were all cat based. He was drawing his cat. I'm like, you're drawing a cat? And he goes, yeah, it's my cat. He goes, that cat can be something. And he's drawing his cat on his sketch cards, but they're all in a cartoonish style. So not only do you have something for the adult who's, interested in the more bigger stuff, but you have something that's more interested for the child, or, for the younger kids, So the magazine, because I did get asked this question, what do you want the magazine to be? And I said, I want it to be more family oriented, to, cater not to one side, but both in the sense that it's there and that, when somebody does pick it up, young or old, they're going to, find some sort of attachment to it.
That's
I'd like
excellent.
to get kids interested in sketch cards. I've been racking my brain trying to think how to do it for the past year. Because I know they like the Minecraft trading cards and things like that, but
What?
actually,
There are Minecraft trading cards?
yeah. We don't have a lot of trading cards in the UK, but there is Minecraft. They're the only ones I've seen recently. Mostly stickers, that kind of
One
thing.
of the few games I've actually played, it's Minecraft. Not very much, but I have actually played it.
Some Minecraft trading cards.
Ooh, I might get back into playing.
You'll get a shiny. I love shinies. That's what got me on cards. Finding a shiny and then showing off all day.
That's what we need is a trading card set just called Shiny. I would be on board with that.
If only they are the
Speaking of-
most expensive thing to produce, aren't they? The shinies. No wonder they were special.
Well, speaking of trading cards, so when the magazine came out, or when I had just said, here it is, here's the magazine, Sketchcard magazine, and I started posting pictures about, doing a sketch card for the Sketchcard magazine. Artists immediately thought it was going to be a sketch card set, and people thought I was producing a trading card set. I'm like, oh wait, before it explodes, like before it gets out of hand. I'm like, that's great and all, but how would I, and I'm like, and so I'm talking to people and they're like, it's like you're trying to bite off too much at one time. You got to choose one or the other. And I'm like, okay, I got to choose the sketch card magazine and do that first. I got to do the magazine side first before I can do a trading card set. So the trading card set is on hold. It's there, but my mind has been going to understand, like, okay, what's out there that people might like, what they're interested in. And one of the things I noticed is a lot of people are doing a lot of original characters lately, and that doesn't really kind of resonate so much, just because it's it's only it's only what I want to say. It's only there on screen. They don't have it on hand. They don't get to see it and like, oh, look at that. And I've always asked for original art from artists when I go to see an artist that I like. I say, give me an original character. Nothing that I just feel like it's a little bit more respect in the sense, I'll do ask for some things here and there, but if they have an original character that I like and I see, and I'm like, could you please draw that? And they're like, they're more than happy to do that. So that is an idea, but going back is if you let things get out of control and out of hand and don't feel like, hey, this is the direction we want to go. I mean, it could be just total chaos. But when I put that first sketch card out there and I said, this is going to be a sketch card for a sketch card magazine, people instantly thought it was going to be a trading card set. And so I had all these artists reaching out, which I'm very thankful for that they have, because I know now I have a list of artists that I can go to when this does come about and say, hey, we're ready to move forward with this. Are you going to be able to be on board?
That's a clever thing to do. You planned that very well.
You know what would be so cool if you had like say you had a featured artist every week, have one of their original characters and run little competitions where other people are going to draw fan art of that character on sketch cards. Something like that. It's so hard to get anybody interested in new characters, something they don't recognize and it's brand new. It's so difficult.
It is
Lindsey, something that you mentioned. Well, something that got mentioned earlier was about getting into sketch cards, and I had an artist who had reached out to me, and sometimes I had to vet who's reaching out to me because I don't know if it's a scam or not, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'll look at the profile and see what they're doing, but an artist had reached out to me a couple of days ago, and I had responded back to him this morning. He actually responded back to me this morning about trying to get into sketch cards. And he's like, I've never drawn on sketch cards. And how do I, and so they felt that I would be a good outlet for them to get introduced into that sort of medium and that sort of area, just because I don't know what's there to attract. But one of the questions I do ask is, I see the larger format, and I heard this from Richard Parks. I listened to your guys' podcast, so that I'm like your podcast junkie. I may not, hit the like button every single time, but I listen.
Thank you.
So it keeps me going through work. But I heard Richard Parks say, hey, great, I like the larger format, but what can you do on a 2.5 by 3.5 size? I want to see that. And I need to see it scaled down to that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I need. So when I have somebody reach out to me and like, okay, great, I see your bigger pieces, but what about your small ones? Can I see something in this size?
That's when you have to say, well, go play around on that little surface for a little bit and then send something that you've done on that surface, which you feel a little bad saying, but we've all had to do that.
Right. Well, from my perspective, I go a step further. And if they don't have the resources to that, or they don't have the means in the sense like, to search that out, I'll just say, send me your address and I'll send you some cards. And you can just play around and do whatever you want. And truth be told, I had artists who, because of doing that, they'll send cards back with their art on it. Wow. And so,
that's lovely. I mean, when I do Comic-Cons, I always have a big pile of blanks there. If kids come along, I'm like, take them, draw on them.
That's so great, Lindsey. That's really, really good.
I try, but I'd like to make it like a little bit more of an official thing where it's like, proper backs on them for the kids, like, but getting, funding that kind of thing and then giving it out for free. It's hard work when you're not making a lot.
I carry a pack with me, and so I'll carry 1 or 2 packs with me. And there was a time that I was at one of the bigger Walmart stores, and I heard this. It was the father talking to either his son or daughter on the phone, and said, he's grabbing these sketchbooks and grabbing pencils, and he said, you want this, you want this. And I just stopped and I said, excuse me. I said, how old's your child? And he's like 13, 14 in that age. I was like, well, here you go. I said, take these, have your child. And so so it's just, you never know. You never know. You really never know.
You never know who you're inspiring to get drawing, do you? And they always come back and say thank you, bless them. They're so sweet.
Have you actually, Lindsay, have you actually seen some of the results of the drawings that kids have done on your cards?
No, not for the cards, unfortunately. But occasionally, I get a kid hit me up and say, I'm trying to draw, and I might spend like a couple of days showing them how to, get the form and everything, and doing my best to help, and they'll come back years later and show me what they've been doing. It's so lovely. You're like, oh, I can't even believe you remembered, But it really does mean a lot to them, bless them. Really, really cool.
That could be really cool, Jeremy, if your magazine maybe inspires young and old to kind of play in that little playground, literally.
Well, yeah, it's never too late to get into them either, is it?
It's not. So I've learned about it since 2000, late 2007, early 2008, and I'm just finding out that artists, some artists who've been in business for 30 years are just now finding out what sketch cards are. And
Yeah.
so I'm just like, it's so totally mind blown in the sense that it's been there for a very long time, but I think because of just being stuck in their own little bubble, in the sense of what they're doing, that they just kind of miss that.
That reminds me, before we started recording, you said you had a story about the beginnings of cards.
Oh, well. So let me get a pack here. Is that the one? So Ingrid, you said that you had a pack of these cards, and I don't know if I need to show the brand name, but you know who I bought it from. But
Yes.
these are the acrylic ones, right? And then at the very top, I don't know if you can see that, it says artist trading cards. That's how I saw it. And it's funny because on the back here, it says join the movement, artist trading cards. It says create, swap, and collect original art in person or online. And for information, it gives the online information. But it says, what are artist trading cards? And it goes into the details of the size. And this is the only official rule for ATCs is the size, 2.5 to 3.5.
Yep.
Right. And then it says, how did the movement start? And it said it started in 1997 by a Swiss artist by the name of M. Vancy Sternemann. I may have botched that last name, but it's right. It's right on here. And it says a Swiss artist created 1,200 cards by hand as part of an exhibit. On the last day, he invited others to create their own cards and trade with him during the closing reception. After that, the movement took off as other artists organized major swap events. Today, there are ATC swaps in almost every major city around the world.
I believe originally trading card, the artists, the ACEOs were actually meant only to be traded and not to be bought or sold, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but it seems to me I read that somewhere. And that was basically, right. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you start to hear the history of it, and then not only that, but the history of the original sketch card.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. What country was that in? Does it say?
Well, it says the guy was it did not say what country that was in, but he said it was a Swiss artist who started the artist trading cards. But when you get back to like sketch cards, that's where it comes, a little, you start to do a little digging and you start to do a little bit more fine tooth, combing into, who originally started the original sketch card, who was the first person to kind of get that out there.
And have you discovered it? Because there are a lot of theories out there.
There are a lot of theories out there.
Is this something you're saving for the magazine, or would you like to share it?
Oh no, I'd be glad to share it. I shared a little bit of it in my life feed when I opened up that pack of detective trading comics. I kept saying sketch cards for some reason, and when I went back to listen to it, and I was like, I don't know why I'm saying sketch cards, because I got sketch cards on the mind, hence, what I deal with. So, the detective comics trading cards was done through active marketing and Mark Voger. And so these were cards that were sketch cards that were pack inserted in 1993.
1993.
And on the package, it says original sketch card. And I bought this pack for like $1 off eBay. And, I had to see it to believe it. And I don't know. I mean, in the video, you can see it. But let's see if we can get that up there.
Oh, yeah. Whoop, no. Send me an image and I'll maybe try to put an image in here for everyone to be able to see a little better. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, I can't see the.
I think it's my filter thing.
Send me a photo. Send me a photo and I'll put it in.
Yeah. So Chris Mixer had a vlog on sketch cards back in 2020, and I believe it was 2020 or maybe 2021 if I'm getting maybe 2020, and he did a small article about Mark Voger, and when I read Chris's stuff and I looked at that and seeing how everything was coming about, I reached out to Mark and I asked questions. I said, would you be interested in being featured in this magazine as the person who had the original sketch card? Because nobody knows who Mark Voger is. You say the name, they're like, who's that? What's this? You got to imagine, because back in the 90s, he was saying, he had said it previously before in the podcast, not in the podcast, but in the blog and in the newspaper article or a magazine article that Richard Fowlkes does, which is the back issue. That he wasn't well known. I mean, he was doing parody comics at that time. And so when they approached Mark to do a gimmick, as he called it, everything back in the 90s was gimmicky, it was attractable, it made sense. He just came up with the idea, original sketch cards. And these are supposed to be 500 original sketch cards that were pack inserted into these cards back in 1993.
Wow.
And so to verify who did the first one, well, their redemption slip says, the redemption needed to be turned in by February of 1993, beginning of February of 1993 or 94, or maybe in 94, if I get that right, because
around that area. That's pretty close,
right? Well, it predated. So it predated before the Simpsons redemptions.
Yeah. Okay.
So meaning it was earlier.
Interesting.
And so when you have the Simpsons packs, the redemption cards, those were cards that, you got your redemption card, you had to sign it, mail it off, and then wait for the artist to send something back. Where Mark's sketch cards were actually pack inserted sketch cards. So when you open up a pack, and if you're lucky, the lucky number one to get a sketch card out of 4,320 packs, you got an original sketch.
That's awesome.
So he did 500 sketches in 2 weeks, and supposedly they're supposed to be all pack inserted, and they're all black and white.
Wow.
I'm just sorry. I've just noticed how dark it's getting. The sun's going down here. Hang on. Oh,
that's fascinating. That's fascinating, Jeremy. It's really interesting. All these different. Well, it seems like that's legit, actually. So I guess we've pushed the evolution back a little bit. That's 29 years ago. Ish.
Almost 30. Almost 30. So it's funny what Mark had said in an interview, or when I did his questions, the Q&A with him. It's something. It's towards the end that he says that if you were to go back and listen to what Richard Fowlkes said last year, there might be something on the horizon between them two. That's all I got to say. Maybe.
Y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard it first.
I don't want to start a rumor, but I'm like, can this really be happening? Can this, it was something because, you know, Richard said it first, right? Richard Fowles said it first. And then I interview Mark, and then Mark says something that hints to what Richard said. And I'm like, wait a minute, could something be happening? Could something like this be taking place? I don't know. But it's just funny to be the middleman of the whole thing. Like, wait, this isn't.
Is there going to be like an anniversary set or something?
We will
Okay.
see.
Moving on.
maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. I hope to see an anniversary set. It'd be nice, and to
Happy
see
New
a reintroduce of his, sketches that he did, because I commissioned him for 5, sketch cards that he graciously did. And you're not going to find Mark, and I said it on my live, my Instagram live. I said you're not going to find him on social media. He's not on Facebook. He's not on Instagram. He's not on TikTok. He's up there in age, so you're not going to find him in that. He's just, find him through his website. That's it.
Okay. Well, à suivre, as they say in French. We're gonna follow that one along and see where that goes. That's very interesting. Okay. We're going to be heading on out here. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you'd like to mention, either about the magazine or is there a date that we can expect for it to come out? Where will people be able to find the magazine? Where can they find you? That's an awful lot all in one thing, but yeah.
You can find me on Instagram. I mean, I'm on there quite a bit. It's sketchcard.magazine, I believe.
Sketchcard.magazine, yes, I think that's what it is.
I think we're, you have messaged me a few times, so
yeah.
That. I am on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram as much though as I am on. I'm sorry, Instagram. Oh boy, Twitter. I'm not on Twitter as much as I am on Instagram.
Nobody's on Twitter as much as they are on Instagram anymore.
So
poor Twitter.
I'm torn on Twitter. I was on Hive at one time, but no.
Hive? I don't even know
terrible.
what that is. I don't even
the app Hive, HIVE.
Okay. What that is.
It was. I think you had mentioned it once before. It was a platform. So somebody had mentioned it.
I don't think it was.
Maybe it was your other previous co-host.
Oh, yeah, and Julie, Jenny.
So she had mentioned it and said it was just a terrible platform because the workings of it were not world. And it's so true.
Yeah, that was Jenny. Yeah.
I just can't delete my information for some reason. I'm trying to close the account out and I can't delete this. I'm like, oh boy. But I'm not on Facebook. I mean, my personal pages and stuff like that about me are on Facebook, but not the magazine side.
No,
on Facebook. I just do. I really. I don't know. It's a lot of social media.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I'm not a
too much. I must admit. Like I'm but I don't use it much. I've just been checking. I already follow you, but I'm going to get the company to follow you as well.
You have
I don't. And that's another thing too. Is I've been, it goes back to the perfectionist side of doing things. I'm trying to kind of weed all that out. And I mean, I have the website name, the handle sketchcardmagazine.com. There's no website there, and it's like, how do I go about this? Because that was one of the things that came about, for the magazines. Like, how can people get it? Where can they get it? How much is it going to be? What's going to take place? So on and so forth. And I always thought about like, okay, maybe I can do something through the website and have them, either do it, is it going to be subscription based? Is it going to be mail orders? Is it going to, all this sorts of stuff? Is it going to be physical or digital? Or one question I got asked, is it going to be a podcast? Are you just going to do podcast only? And I'm like, no, it's going to be a physical magazine. It's going to be in print. So there are things that I'm trying to work out, especially when it comes to the website side of things, because I know that's going to be a little bit more detail oriented. And for me, I am only limited to a certain amount of time and to a certain amount of capabilities that I'm able to do.
Do you
Like I
have a
can get the
mailing? Do you have a mailing list that people can sign up for at least some information on occasion?
no, nothing.
I'm trying to help you
No,
here.
I know you're trying to help me. This is so great because and maybe you can pass that resource along to me because, again,
I use MailChimp. So, it's free. You have a limit. You may need to eventually upgrade or something if you have enough people sign up, but that's not a problem for me yet, at least. I don't think it will be. But you can have, I forget how many, and it's free. So yeah, MailChimp, I recommend that. Lindsey, I think you have a MailChimp account now too.
Started a MailChimp. There's not too many emails in it yet, but it'll grow over time, I hope.
And
I'm
it's
hoping
pretty
the
easy.
people who pledged on my Kickstarter at the moment will let me put their email in. So
You can also set up with that MailChimp, you can set up a landing page that you can send the link to that people can sign up for themselves, if they want to. So that's kind of
right
easy.
on. Yeah, that's helpful information because
It will take you a
you're
few
just
minutes to figure it out. I personally find MailChimp is just you look at it and it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? But you take a few, yeah, Lindsey gets me. It's a little bit overwhelming, but it's actually pretty easy to use. It's not really all that hard once you get a feel for it and all. You can set up a landing page. People can go sign up for your mailing list if they want to. They have the option. That way they can decide for themselves. And then yeah, you have that mailing list, which is online, which I think is better after losing 3 different computers and laptops and all the emails I had. I do not keep them on my laptop anymore. I just don't. I keep them in secure places, which is not on my laptop. So yeah, just my 2
that's
cents.
good. That's good. No, that's really good information.
So anything else that you would like to add before we head on out the door? When's the launch date?
Oh, the launch date.
Spring, at least? Summer?
Uh, the launch date for the preview magazine, like I said, I hope to be at the end of February.
Okay.
The beginning of March. That's what I'm aiming for. Minus the production. So whether I have a fully complete addressed magazine that's to my own liking or to something that's just going to try to get out there because again, it's you don't have to have all the fine details in place in order to have something out there for people to appreciate or the value of it because for something to to continue on, which not too many people remember. If I mean everyone is not, what do I want to say, everybody knows Wizard magazine, right? Everybody knows Wizard issues. It started out as a newsletter. The very first one was a newsletter. And then it turned into a post.
Give me some great advice. It's like just get started and then build on it.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Just
and so that's
trying to think of doing everything now and all at once. And it's like, no, calm down. You don't need to do that. Just get your bits in place.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I'm learning is that. But in the preview issue, I just want to highlight, artists and the collectors that are going to be featured in the coming issues, so people know what to expect and what to look forward to and to, oh, okay, I like this artist, don't, like this collector or see this collector because, again, we're only limited to certain degrees or certain variables of just, social media and that's it. So it's something that you see on social media, somebody else not going to probably be able to see that because, lack of resources or they just don't follow that person. So hopefully the magazine is something that can get into hands to a lot of people, who appreciate that sort of thing.
Well, we wish you the ultimate best. And we can't wait to see it come out.
When you've got a definite launch date and then we can help tell people that it's coming out as well.
Yeah, well, let us know let us know the details and we'll help share it and all that stuff.
If you see me put the launch date like coming soon in 2024. You have my permission to come over here and hang me up by my toes over a bridge, okay? Because you like Jeremy.
Like I said,
come on now.
I said this the other day. The video for my Kickstarter says coming this summer, and last summer has come and gone, and I've only just released it this month. So I know what you're saying.
I don't like. I'm afraid to do Kickstarter. I'm afraid. I don't think I have enough materials or enough things to, give as incentives, to that nature. And I see everybody else doing things like that, and I get so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh no, it's too much for me.
Scary when you think about doing it all at once, but like Richard told me, just one thing at a time, and it will get done, and it'll all come together. And just calm down.
And start small. You don't start small. You don't want to aim your price or your budget too high, because you may not be able to get all those backers.
I just did the production costs, and anything over that is gravy. We just wanted to make sure it got made.
Oh yeah, this is exciting stuff. All kinds of new things coming out this year from everyone. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for having come on the podcast, and I'll put as many links to you as possible in the show notes. There are not that many links yet, but
no, that's the ones that I think I do that purposely, honestly. So
well, if it keeps it manageable for you, that's good. I mean,
when you start going out to the realm of Facebook and other social media platforms, it's just, I think it becomes too much.
Oh, it's a time suck, a real time suck. It is.
It's really good to have somebody on who knows, because like, if you've got a website at base, like there's ones where you can update your website and it'll send it all over the different social medias.
Oh, yes.
Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know about Twitter now because I think they're not doing that anymore. But like, you used to be able to just blanket send to all the social medias, but that might be something to look into. I wouldn't know how to do it because I haven't got a clue.
I used to have that on my WordPress. I have a WordPress website, and so I just don't blog anymore, but I probably should. I think you can actually do that, publish to Facebook and Twitter. Although I think you have to have a Facebook business account now or something, which I refuse to have. Yeah. I don't know. I have to look at it. We'll have to have.
Well, it's funny listening to some of the other guests that you have on previously who always end up forgetting that they have a website.
Yeah. There is that.
Or they haven't updated it in so long.
Oh yeah, but it really is cool to have one place on the internet where you can put all the links to everywhere. So at least there's that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
about it.
Anyway, thank you so much again. We'll have you on again later this year so we can kind of update all the details and see how it's going with the magazine, if you're willing.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate you ladies taking the time to communicate with me and put a name to a face finally, and everyone gets to see mine.
Wonderful. We appreciate
it. No cats were hurt in the making of this beard, so don't.
It's been awesome to meet you.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll talk to you again.
Likewise. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.